Today, I'm going to share my 3 favorite exercises for building a stronger core. These exercises are great for beginners and seniors alike. Core strength is extremely important as we age. We often talk about stronger legs and balance, but core strength plays a very important role for seniors. It is also often overlooked and doesn't quite get the attention it deserves. Our core is made up of all the muscles in our body's midsection, and this includes more than just our abdominals. We also have to think about our obliques, our glutes, our lower back muscles too. Our core muscles work together to prevent unwanted movement and create controlled movement. This means that weakness in this region can contribute to less effective performance in our daily tasks. More importantly, it can set us up for a higher risk of injury. So our training should reflect both of these dimensions, working to stop certain motions from occurring, such as regaining our balance while we're walking, and generating motion with control, for example, a golf swing. In a nutshell, having stronger core muscles helps to prevent and relieve low back pain, decrease our risk of falling, and increase our efficiency of movement. From anything as mundane as doing the laundry to a better racquetball swing. Remember, if these exercises are appropriate for you, they shouldn't cause you pain. Difficulty and fatigue are just fine. But if you're feeling pain, then skip it or modify it a bit until the pain goes away. Let's get started. As we go through the exercises, I'll try my best to explain it in a way that is easy to understand, the same way we explain it to our patients who we treat in the clinics every day. The first exercise I'll show you today is the front plank. So, one of the reasons that I like programming the front plank is, 1, it's accessible. If you've got a floor or a flat surface, you can do this exercise. 2, not so much in a functional way, because we don't go around planking or getting ourselves into that specific position, but we need to be able to turn on and activate our musculature when the time calls for it. So we need to be able to coordinate how our abdominals are contracting, how our glutes are working. So this is a good way of teaching how to actually use those muscles appropriately and what it actually feels like to brace our core. The other thing I like is it's very scalable. It has a lot of ways that you can make this exercise a lot more demanding, but it also has ways that you can scale this down and regress it to an appropriate level for you. First thing is, if you've got hard flooring or even carpet that might kind of rub raw on the forearms or the elbows, use a towel or some kind of padding. A yoga mat works well too. So first stage, you want to keep the chin just a slight tuck down, and you're not leaning forward with the neck or the head or hyper, excessively retracting it. Just a good gentle tuck. Forearms facing vertically with a closed fist. Tight grip, neck's in place, forearms are vertical. We're going to push our shoulders up toward the ceiling. So this positioning, we stay in this position the whole time. From my knees, I'm going to lift my knees up, contract my abdominals and my glutes, and my knees are straight, and I'm holding that position. I don't want my back to sag, don't want my hips to shoot up in the air, I don't want my knees to be lazy. So everything is tight, everything is engaged, I'm just holding this position. Now, as far as how long you hold the position, you should aim for anywhere between 15 seconds to about 60 seconds of work. If you're not able to hold it for that minimum amount of time, you should find a regression, a way of making that exercise easier so you can at least meet that minimal threshold. One of the easiest ways to do that is from just the basic plank position is just to drop to the knees. Still everything else is working, it's just less load, essentially, less weight. Another way you can do is to regress that is to place your arms on a slightly higher surface that decreases the stress of gravity on the body. So you'll still get the same benefits, but it's again just like scaling down the weight and the overall load on the body. On the other end of that equation, if you are holding a position for longer than 60 seconds, that's not challenging you that much, then doing something to make that a little bit more demanding to where you're only holding that for maybe 30 seconds, 40 seconds at a time, you're gonna get more of a strength carryover from doing that. So for example, you could do something from the starting position, starting plank, just adding in one leg comes off the ground. Or alternating. You're lifting one leg, holding it briefly, putting it back down. Lifting one arm, alternating. And I mean, the list goes on and on. There's basically an infinite variety of ways that you can continue challenging yourself. And that's one of the reasons I like this exercise. It allows you to have a little bit more variety in your training. I'm Mason, by the way, Doctor of Physical Therapy and Director of Clinical Education at Total Therapy Florida and the Active Adult. Please consider subscribing by hitting the button below. It really helps our channel and enables us to continue providing this content for you every week. The next exercise that we're going to discuss is called the loaded trunk rotation. So this is a little bit different than the last exercise, which was focused on preventing motion or staying in one position. This is actually working on the other component of core strength and stability, which is being able to generate movement, being able to control the motion. If you're bending down to get a pot out of the bottom of the cabinet, or move a big box in your garage, you need to be able to generate and transfer force through your legs, through your core. So this is a way of kind of training for that specific component. The setup for this, you're going to need some sort of elastic band or a cable if you go to a gym. You've got the band set up. You're going to get into an athletic stance, both hands gripping onto the handle. I'm performing a left-handed swing. We have our athletic stance, grabbing onto the handle. And the key with this is that we have not just our trunk, our abdominals, our spine rotating. We actually want our spine, our hips, and our feet, our legs to all move in the same direction. We want them working as a unit, not in isolation. That's a good way of getting injured, is just rotating from your spine, especially if you haven't acclimated or worked up to doing that. So we want the whole body moving as one unit. We're in our athletic stance. Arms are out in front. And I like to imagine a straight line from my belly button to my hands. And everything's going to move along that line. So I'm starting off in the relaxed position. And as I rotate, that line stays consistent. You can still draw that same line from belly button to hand. And notice I've also swiveled on my back leg. I've pivoted on that foot. Now I'm coming back to my starting position, back down. Swiveling up, rotating, I'm driving through my hips, through my leg, my back leg, and my abdominals, my core is controlling that movement, generating and controlling that movement. And it's okay to go fast on the way up. That's actually a good way of demonstrating some power and having some good functional carryover. And I'm doing it at an upward angle. You could do it purely sideways. You could even go at an upwards or downwards angle, I should say. You would just change the anchor point to do that. So as far as programming, you want to shoot for 2 to 3 sets, anywhere between 8 to 12 repetitions. That'll keep the weights at a moderate level to decrease any risk of injury or overuse, especially because this is a rotational motion. A lot of people aren't used to doing that on a regular basis. So you want to be mindful of that in your programming. And I demonstrated this doing it all on one side. I was rotating to my right because that's my dominant swinging side, but also be sure to do it on the other side, like train both sides. You don't have to necessarily do it equally, but be sure that you're at least addressing both sides. Okay, so our last exercise is actually not an exercise at all. It's more of a way that you perform the exercise. So what I'm referring to is what's called unilateral exercises or one-sided exercises. And this is something that you can apply to basically any movement that you would do in the gym or at home. All it is doing is taking a weight and placing it on one side of the body or the other. So doing it on one leg at a time versus 2 legs, or a weight that's in one arm versus doing it with both arms at the same time. One of the easiest ways to illustrate this is what's called a suitcase carry. So having this weight held in my left hand, the weight is all pulling me to that one side. I don't have something that's counterbalancing it on the opposite side. So in order for me to maintain my position fairly vertical and upright, and not allow this weight to just drag me down to the left, my muscles in my core have to, on the opposite side, have to contract, have to brace in order for me to stay in this position. And I could probably stand here for a decent amount of time, depending on the weight that I'm holding. But one way that we can make this a little bit more functional and carry over to kind of day-to-day activities is to do what I call a suitcase carry. We're holding the weight, we're in a good posture, good position, core is engaged and tight and braced, and we're just walking, taking good, even steps, maintaining that posture. I'm not allowing the weight to drag me off to that left side, but I'm also not overcompensating and hugging the weight to that support side. I'm keeping everything centered, muscles are engaged, contracted, and just taking even steps. If you have a certain distance that you're able to walk between, if you don't, just doing something like a march. Still, all those other cues are still in place. We're still bracing, but now I'm having to spend a little bit more time on a single leg. So it's got a little extra balance component. And like I said before, this is something that you can apply to virtually any exercise. Just take any exercise you would do at the gym, like say a row that you would typically do with two hands, and perform it with one hand. And the goal being not only just to move the weight back and forth, but keep your trunk in alignment and not allow the weight to pull or twist you in one direction or the other. So it doesn't change really much about how much you're actually lifting or moving, but just the way that you perform that to emphasize more of core stability and more strength in preventing that unwanted motion. You're going to want to add some or all of these core exercises to your regular workout routine. If you have any questions or difficulty with any of them, just leave us a comment and I'll do my best to answer it for you. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and be sure to check out some of our other videos like this one. Catch you next time.